Biscuits
For
and
most of us
gravy.
Brits who
Okay.
relocate here to America, hearing the word biscuits and gravy in the same
Yeah.
sentence is
This sounds
profoundly
disgusting.
frightening.
So I was thinking, why would anyone put that on this? Welcome back to the channel, my wonderful people. Today, your fellow Gen Z Brit is going to be diving into 6 food dishes I only discovered after moving to America. Now, this is coming from Lost in the Pond channel that I recently became a fan of, as you guys will know if you've been keeping up with me on the channel. And I'm really curious to see what he says in this. Having came back from the US not too long ago, there was quite a few new things that I came across. I'll be curious to see if there's any that I might recognize, and for the ones that I don't recognize, I'm really intrigued to see what they're all about and what his opinion is on them, and to get your take on it as well. But yeah, look, let's dive on into this one. But before we get in, just help me to smash that subscribe button, guys, for those guys that haven't already subscribed, and don't forget to like this video as well. Help me push these videos in the algorithm. The support is always very much appreciated. But yeah, guys, look, with that being said, let's jump on into this one, shall we? Let's go.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to food.
That was an entrance.
Specifically, food dishes that I only encountered after moving to the United States. And I'll be honest with you, those of you who have seen my food-related videos in the past will know that this video could be a list of 150 food dishes.
Really?
So I've kept it to 6 in the hope that if it's successful, we'll do a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4. You get the picture. Now,
Yeah, let's keep pumping. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But wow, that's interesting that he says there's so many. I guess that doesn't really surprise me, but I guess I didn't realize just how much. If he's saying it's that much.
If you've not had a chance to subscribe to this channel, do that now.
Subscribe. Links to the original video will be in the description.
In the meantime, here are 6 food dishes that I never encountered back in Britain, but did so once I moved here.
Let's see.
Before I became a resident of the United States, the words clam and chowder very rarely found themselves emanating from my mouth. And similarly, the food item in question very rarely entered it. In fact, it never did, because clam chowder is, of course, a dish that is specifically synonymous with American cuisine and, even more specifically, Northeastern cuisine. And for my non-American viewers who might be thinking, what the heck is clam chowder?
What the heck is clam chowder?
Not at such a high frequency. Clam chowder is basically a chowder soup that contains clams. Was that really so difficult? And perhaps appropriately for somebody from Old England, I'm most familiar with New England clam chowder. And you might be thinking, ooh, Lawrence, but I thought you lived in the Midwest. And I do live in the Midwest. But something that you need to know about the United States is that while it does have a lot of sort of regional dishes that remain regional to that region, some dishes start live regionally and then make their way across the country. And the same is true of clam chowder. And I remember having it for the first time at a very expensive seafood restaurant. And before you go, oh, Lawrence, it sounds like somebody's getting a little too big for their boots. This was 10 years ago. In Indianapolis. And to prove to you that I remain a completely down-to-earth YouTube sensation, the only other time that I've had clam chowder was in a mall. Because this is America, where there are more food courts than legal courts. That's probably not true.
Why did he just make that comparison? But that's interesting. And something that I found really cool about America, at least, maybe this is possibly because it's so much more diverse than I thought it was initially. But I find it really interesting how you can be in certain parts of the US, and certain parts of the US are known for having a particular like cuisine, and in other parts like it's pretty much non-existent. I feel like in the UK it's a way more standardized. I feel like you're kind of gonna get something similar wherever you go within the UK. But yeah, you get like, you know, traditional stuff, but it's to say, you know, there's not an area that's known for anything. Whereas when I was in the US, I know there was, you know, I was familiar, like, you know, certain states, like I think Texas are known for certain styles of barbecue or something like that. And I feel like it can get really deep and intricate when you really start to dive into just how different some of these states are when it comes to their cuisines. But that's also, I guess that's something I just find cool about the US, which is interesting. I didn't realize before.
Courts than legal courts. That's probably not true.
Meatloaf.
If you'd have asked me 20 years ago, Lawrence, what is meatloaf? My answer would have been unequivocal. Meatloaf is that actor that was in Fight Club, the same guy that used to sing power ballads written by John Steinbeck. I think I was supposed to say Jim Steinman. But during the harsh winter of 2008, was it really that? It wasn't that bad. I was introduced to a food item by the name of meatloaf. And it is literally, as the name suggests, a loaf of meat. Smushed together with other ingredients until it forms the shape of, well, bread, which I've just realised is the name of another 70s rock group. And just like with bread, it's usually served in slices, which is something I wish somebody would have told me before I tried to eat it with a spoon. Anyway, meatloaf, the food, is not something that most British people would be familiar with. But in doing a little bit of research for this video, I discovered that hacelet, which is a cut of meat that originated in my home county of Lincolnshire, is itself a type of meatloaf that doesn't enjoy anywhere near the ubiquity, a word that they dared me to get into the video, that meatloaf does in the United States.
Right. Wow. Okay. Yeah. And what you said there was true, guys. I agree. I don't think most Brits will know about what meatloaf is, or at least if they do know, they wouldn't have came across it. At least they probably wouldn't have came across it whilst being in the UK. I don't know. It's not really something that I've heard of much. I don't really hear anybody talking about meatloaf in the UK. But maybe I didn't realize that.
To get into the video,
makes sense.
Meatloaf does in the United States. While some of the dishes on this list came to my attention more or less immediately after I moved to America, there are some I only found out about in the last couple of years. And indeed, those of you who were watching my channel 2 years ago will know that this includes a dish called chicken fried steak. In fact, if it hadn't been for my collaboration with a Scottish YouTube sensation by the name of Sean, I might to this day have no idea what that is.
Chicken fried steak. Have you ever heard of chicken fried steak?
Never heard of it. Where did you see that?
It was in this diner, and it was... I didn't know if it was chicken or steak, but I think it's beef.
Right, what is it?
Anyway, don't take my word for it. Instead,
so it's not chicken or steak, it's beef? So what?
It was... I didn't know if it was chicken or steak, but I think it's beef.
Anyway, don't take my word for it. Instead, here's me from 2 years ago with more details.
Chicken fried steak. What is that?
It's the gravy that makes it. I'm just going to try a little piece without gravy to see what that's like.
A steak that's fried like a chicken?
Yeah, even without gravy, it's definitely still fried. But Sean was right. I mean, this is pretty phenomenal, and I think that, you know, if I could, I'd eat one of these every day, but I'd go into cardiac arrest.
I need to try that. I need to actually try that.
Perhaps the biggest surprise is that while it does indeed contain steak, and while it is indeed fried, there is no chicken. And speaking of chicken, guess what's for dinner?
So then why is it called chicken fried steak? Shouldn't it just be called fried steak? So please, my Americans, help me make sense of that.
And while it is indeed fried, there is no chicken. And speaking of chicken, guess what's for dinner? I'll give you a clue. It arrived courtesy of today's sponsor, Factor 75.
Smooth transition.
And I say arrived because for me that's the best thing about Factor meals. After a day of filming, editing, and waking up at 11 in the morning, a YouTube sensation like me doesn't always have time to
shout to Lawrence.
Orders. That's code LITP50 at factor75.com to get 50% off your first box, plus 20% off your next month of orders. There are no two ways about it. Americans are obsessed with chili. You might be thinking, Lawrence, the transition slide didn't say anything about chili. What are you talking about? Well, chili in this country is often accompanied by a side dish that seems particularly popular with my wife's family. Cornbread. And just to be clear, since there seems to be a pattern emerging here, that is not corn as in the new metal band. No, corn as in cornmeal, which is the chief ingredient of cornbread. And it's pretty nice when it's not green, which is an allusion to a video I made in which it was. Either way, cornbread is one of many examples pointing to America's obsession with corn. At the state fair, you have corn dogs. At Halloween, you have candy corn. And in everything, you have corn syrup.
That's so interesting. So is corn in the US like beans with the UK? Because I know a lot of Americans will get onto Brits for like, oh, you guys have beans of everything. Right? But then it's like, this is kind of an absurd amount of corn that I'm seeing. Like, why is this like cornbread, corn dogs? And then it's like, that's a lot of like, that's quite a few things that involve corn that I don't even think is a thing in the UK. So you guys help me understand that one. You guys must love corn.
Have candy corn, and in everything you have corn syrup.
Biscuits and gravy.
For most of us Brits who relocate here to America, hearing the word biscuits and gravy in the same sentence is
this sounds disgusting.
Because there are two things that I think most of us don't know until we move here. Number one, the gravy in question is usually this sort of thick, white concoction that's quite spicy. Compare this to the gravy that we're used to back home, provided by the likes of Bisto, which is a darker, thinner kind of liquid. But the other major difference is the way in which Americans define the word biscuit. In Britain, of course, a biscuit is what Americans would call a cookie. Yeah. So perhaps you can see why the term biscuits and gravy might make us do a bit of sick.
When I first found out about biscuits and gravy, because I've actually tried this when I went to the US not too long ago, and this was my first time ever trying it and I'll tell you what I thought about it in a sec. But as I say, like when I heard biscuits and gravy together, I was like terrified. No, who would want a biscuit on a gravy? Like, I was thinking of this. I was thinking of a cookie and gravy, like that brown stuff you just showed, right? So I was thinking, why would anyone put that on this? Like that doesn't make, like that is just what? And then I realized what it actually is when I saw it, and I was like, oh wait, Americans call cookies biscuits. No, you call biscuits cookies, and we call, I think, scones what you call biscuits.
Or a cookie. So perhaps you can see why the term biscuits and gravy might make us do a bit of sick. Until we learn that in America, a biscuit is a form of savoury baked bread that they push on you a little too much of Red Lobster. And I say too much because American-style biscuits are actually really nice. And I have been known to devour 6 or 7 of those before my fish and chips arrives. Of course I still eat the fish and chips. Do you think I'm a psychopath? And I must say, since it is a popular dish here in the Midwest, biscuits and gravy is actually quite nice once you overcome the initial trauma.
Yeah, facts. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And in terms of my opinion on biscuits and gravy, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually thought it was really nice. Once I actually realized what it was, I tried it and I was like, okay, I can see how people can like this for sure. You know, I want to try it again as well when I go. I only tried it once. I'll probably do a reaction to it if I can remember to do it. Last time I went to the US, I went ghost. I have a video explaining that for those guys that want to know why I went to the US, but some of you guys may already know. Either way, let's continue.
In fact, if it hadn't been for my collaboration with a Scottish YouTube sensation by the name of Sean, I might to this day have no idea what that is.
Chicken fried steak. Have you ever heard of chicken fried steak?
Never heard of it. Where did you see that?
It was in this diner, and it was, I didn't know if it was chicken or steak, but I think it's beef.
Right, what is
anyway,
it?
Don't take my word for it. Instead,
so it's not chicken or steak, it's beef? Sure, what?
Mexican food is very popular here in the US. As I've also pointed out, it has in recent years gained a foothold back in the UK, but I haven't been there for any of that. So I only encountered tacos, both the word and the food, in the years that I've been living on this side of the pond. And of all of the many Mexican dishes you can get here, tacos seem to be the one with which Americans are most obsessed. Basically, if you don't know what tacos are, then you're not from North America. You take a mini tortilla.
Interesting.
I know how it's pronounced, I'm just messing with them. And you put whatever on them, chicken, guacamole, beans, salsa, and you wrap it up, usually badly in my case, and you just eat about maybe 3 of them. Personally though, I find it easier and maybe less messy just to have a quesadilla. Which makes me realize this entire list could have just been Mexican food.
Right.
Well, if I've learned anything today, it's that talking about food makes me really hungry, because at this point I haven't yet filmed the bit where I eat the Factor 75 meal. I'm going to do that in a minute and I'm really excited. But I've also learned that there are a surprising number of American recording artists named after food. Who else have you got? The Smashing Pumpkins, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Pearl Jam. If you would like to watch more of me experiencing chicken fried steak and you haven't watched this video yet, you'll do that next.
Right. I mean, that looks interesting, guys. And if you guys want me to check it out, let me know. But yeah, when we're diving into food dishes, when Lawrence dived into these food dishes, I agree with him in the sense that like all of these aren't nowhere near as popular in the UK, nor do probably most Brits can say that they've tried some of these things. So look, I'll be very curious to see what you guys thought about this video, and I would also like to try some of these things that I mentioned. Like I would love to try chicken fried steak. I don't think I've ever tried meatloaf. Clam chowder I've never tried, and cornbread I've never tried. Biscuits and gravy is the only one that I've tried on this list, and that was only when I went to the US. So voice crack. So yeah, I'm excited to actually, when I do go back, to try some more things, and I'll definitely let you guys know what I think about that. But of course, if you made this disappointing video, you guys are the real to the real. As always, comment on a brown heart sign, know who my real ones are. All #flex. I made this point. And yeah, if you guys want to see me check out some more videos in me discovering more about the US, I got a place you can check out. And on top of that, guys, with that being said, I'm your boy JayFlex, and I'll see you wonderful people in the next one. Peace.